Welcome everyone to Entrepreneurs Coloring Outside the Line, and today we have with us Jeet Banerjee. Jeet is a 21-year-old serial entrepreneur. He is an author of Limitless Thinking, a TEDx speaker, and he's also got several startups. So Jeet, thanks again for being on the show. We really do appreciate that. And can you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and your startups that you're working on right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. And yeah, definitely. So I'm working on a couple different startups right now. The first company being StatFuse. And what we essentially do with StatFuse is we're a platform that enables like high school students and community college students to kind of get into their dream school. So we kind of calculate their odds of getting into a specific school, give them college recommendations, scholarships, and all these different tools to help them essentially hack the college admissions process. My second company that I'm working on right now is Visionary Media Group, and what we do with that company essentially is we create digital products such as ebooks, mobile applications, websites, and it's just kind of instead of coming and building a product for another company or somebody else, instead we're kind of building products that are our own ideas or our own essentially hunches, and we run solely on passive income. And then the third project kind of falls under Visionary Media Group, but we're trying to really get that to blow up, and it's called dailymondo.com. And what we do there is we're kind of trying to be like the BuzzFeed for motivation. So there's all these platforms out there that are constantly feeding people quizzes and fun and entertainment and celebrity gossip, but we've never seen that go-to platform for motivation, inspiration, and taking your life to the next level. So it's a platform where greatness thrives, and we try to share the greatest content on the web. So those are the three startups I'm working on.
Wow, that's very nice. That's quite a few things actually on your plate there. Um,
Yeah.
so, kind of, I guess, question would be, how did you get started with all of this? When was your entrepreneurial start? Why did you start it? And tell us a little bit about and a little bit about why you decided to go down this path instead of a typical path that most, maybe 21-year-olds tend to choose nowadays.
Yeah, definitely. So I was kind of raised in an Indian family. So they were really strict on like teaching me the value of a dollar and kind of hitting hard on some principles at an early age. So when I was 15, they kind of sent me out to go get a job, and I went out and got probably about 12 jobs in the span of 2 years. And it wasn't that I was a great employee and I was getting promoted. It was more like I was getting fired or quitting from each of these jobs. And I just found it to be such a struggle, and I was still in high school, so that was kind of a great thing. But the biggest factor was that I absolutely despised all these jobs, and I knew that I couldn't go to college and get a degree and work another job in my life. So I began doing some research just to see kind of what other avenues are there and how else can you make a career of yourself. And I came across entrepreneurship. And I've always been that person that I've just got to try something when I find out about it. I'm extremely impatient. And I just kind of went out and said, you know what, I'm going to try this. Let's see if I'm good at it. Let's see if it's something I enjoy. And that's really how I got started.
Wow, very nice, very nice. So, as far as your startups are concerned right now, I guess you can talk about all three of them together if you want. How do you generate revenue? What actually brings in the money, and what's your business model like? What's the kind of like the customer the process that you do to kind of start with the first click and tie it all the way down to a sale?
Yeah, absolutely. So with StatFuse, we've kind of always been testing different revenue models because we really wanted to find a way to keep it free for students because they already pay so much. But we kind of came down to the realization that we have to do some kind of freemium model, which is something that we're launching like in the next couple of weeks. But in terms of StatFuse, we've got over like 75,000 users, and the biggest thing that we did to obtain those users was we created a lot of partnerships with SAT Prep, ACT Prep, tutoring companies, and other educational organizations. And what we did was kind of similar to the YouTube strategy. So YouTube, you can embed a video onto literally any site, but that YouTube logo stays. So with our College Chances calculator, we essentially branded that with the StatFuse logo, and we started distributing the calculator out as a widget to hundreds and hundreds of sites. And that kind of started, we were essentially leveraging other people's traffic to bring in users for our own platform. So that's been the biggest success strategy in a marketing standpoint for that. And then we're probably going to stick to the same thing as we kind of shift into this freemium model as well and kind of see how that goes. For my other company, Visionary Media Group, the biggest success for us has just been creating paid products online. So there's so many niches out there, and if you can kind of put yourself in a specific niche in a really well-rounded manner, you can make a lot of income and you can generate a lot of sales. And that's essentially what we've done with our ebooks, mobile applications, and digital products is just look for the niches, create a really good product, and kind of push it out there. And so all of our sales are essentially just coming in from like a very passive method, no aggressive marketing strategies or anything like that. And then with Daily Mondo, we're basically pre-revenue. Like the only revenue we make right now is off like ads or sponsored posts and stuff, but it's very minimal. Our mission is just to kind of grow the site really big and then figure out revenue strategies later on down the line.
Hmm. Okay, this is a question that I probably didn't give it to you, but it's kind of like side question is that a lot of entrepreneurs, especially younger ones, have there's a struggle. So, for example, at your age, most students, a lot of students would be either at their senior year or just graduating from college.
Mhm.
How does someone who wants to be an entrepreneur, how do they actually take this leap instead of going to pick up a regular job right after college? How do they actually take a leap into something like what you're doing while supporting themselves? So let's say that they didn't have parents who would be able to support them. They're on their own. What would you say to those kind of people? What is one way that they can kind of pursue something like what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was kind of lucky that I was only in high school, so I only needed like a couple $100 a month to survive. So that was kind of a blessing for me. But for other people that might need a little bit more money, to obviously to support themselves and things like that, the biggest thing I tell them is that it's okay to take a job or to do something that you don't like because it's kind of greater motivation for you to get out of that life and to do something that you really like. So if you have a job or you're going to school, that doesn't mean that you can't start your side project or your side business, and you can just kind of work at it every day, whether it's like a couple hours a day or after school or whatever the case is. Just keep working at it, but just make sure you're building something and that you're kind of doing something on the side. This way you're learning and you're kind of growing something. And then once your side project or your side hustle kind of becomes bigger than your main hustle, that's when you can kind of quit that job or quit whatever you're doing and kind of go all in on that side project essentially.
Gotcha. So you recommend that you recommend having a side job, but kind of starting working on your own project on the side as well until your own startup start to become a big enough thing.
Exactly. That's absolutely right.
So going back to your startups, what are some things that with Daily Mondo and StatFuse, what are some goals that you would like to achieve within a year, and what are some milestones that you're looking at coming up for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So goals for kind of staff use, we've kind of had this project for a while, but we've never really been able to generate like an incredible amount of revenue with it. So in 2015, we would definitely like to generate at least $500,000 in revenue off of the freemium model and really kind of grow this thing. And
Mm-hmm.
then with Daily Mondo, our biggest focus right now is on traffic and really driving relevant users to our site. So by the end of 2015, we definitely want to have like 10, 15 million unique visitors that have actually gone through to the site and kind of been reading our content and stuff like that because it's all about impacting as many people as we can with that project.
Wow. So some of our audience might be interested in you're 21, right?
Yeah, I'm 21 right now.
How much money do you make in a month at 21?
Um, to be honest, I really don't like to share like specific numbers and stuff. That's just a personal,
Okay.
yeah, thing for me. Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Very nice. Very good. Well, I'm sure whatever it is, it's great enough to where that you're able to pursue this full time, which is really something encouraging to a lot of our younger entrepreneurs. The reason I asked that question is because I think you've shared this in other interviews that entrepreneurship looks great from the outside, but once you start to actually dive into it, it's not so easy. I started a couple of companies myself, and it was really difficult for me to kind of see where is the money actually coming from. It's you're working really hard, and you're putting yourself out there, but a lot of times the revenue doesn't really come in until you
Uh-huh.
really start to take off. It's like an airplane, but
Yeah.
it's definitely encouraging. So what are some challenges that you face that you have kind of come across or you plan on facing in the near future with your startup?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the biggest challenge for me has probably been figuring out how to scale my businesses, especially with like Visionary Media Group and stuff like that. When you're kind of mass creating these products, it's kind of a very hard, I guess, division because you want to keep creating products and stuff like that, but you've got to keep your other products in the niches ranking high, making the same sales and stuff like that. So That's probably been like the biggest challenge for me in all my businesses is just finding a way to scale it where it makes sense, where you're not losing money and your expenses aren't going up drastically. So I'd probably say that's been the biggest struggle.
Gotcha. There you go. So we have one more question, and we asked this of all of our interviewees. Um,
Mhm.
the goal of this show is to basically encourage young people, particularly people that are in, nearing their junior or senior year in college or just graduated college, to go ahead and start to think about how they can start their own projects, whether it's a
Mhm.
company that they want or it's just their own idea or for an app or maybe a website that they just go out there and just launch it and throw it out there. But again, this it's a lot of learning to do. There's, I have mentioned this, but I did have them in the form of books. Like I followed a lot of young successful entrepreneurs such as yourself in books. So if you were to give um, 5 tips, if you were to tell us the 5 most important things that someone who's planning on becoming an entrepreneur, just started their own business, needs to know, what would they be?
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. The first tip I would give people is to really embrace failure because if you don't fail, you're not going to be successful. And I don't look as failure as something that like defines me or my businesses unless I really allow it to. So what I mean by that is like, let's say I fail. If I give up or I decide to walk away, then I'm letting failure define me. But if I kind of get back up and I try again and I use what I learned, then failure isn't really defining me. And the biggest thing I've learned as an entrepreneur is that it's not about your failures, it's about your successes, and you only have to be really right once to be successful as an entrepreneur, and you could be wrong a million other times. So that's probably the first thing. The second thing I would probably say is having a really strong focus and kind of really understanding your strengths and weaknesses. So oftentimes people ask me like how I'm able to kind of balance different projects and stuff like that, and the biggest thing for me is that I really know my strengths and I know my weaknesses. So the biggest thing that I've done is I know I'm really good at marketing, but I'm garbage at coding or programming or whatever it is. So I'll hire or bring on other people in my team to do the things I'm not good at, and I'll kind of do the things that I'm good at. And the biggest lesson for that is like 100% of nothing is nothing, but 20% of millions of dollars is a lot. So put together a team and understand your strengths and weaknesses and kind of use that to your advantage.
Mhm.
The third thing that I would really say is also embrace your competition. Like the biggest thing that we did with Staff Views was we wanted to be friends with our competitors. So instead of blasting them or finding a way to take them down, we thought, hey, we have these competitors. How can we use them to our advantage and give them a benefit too? So a lot of people like to kind of bad talk their competitors and stuff, but I think competitors are great because you can learn from them, you can partner with them, and you can create these relationships that can oftentimes help both of you that you wouldn't be able to have if you didn't have competitors. The fourth thing that I would probably say is that not to fall in love with ideas. I think an idea is just a thought, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be successful. And there's no such thing as billion-dollar ideas. It's more about billion-dollar execution. So a lot of people
Mhm.
are scared to share their ideas or tell people sign an NDA and stuff like that. But I don't believe in any of that stuff because anyone can have that idea, but only one person can really execute it to its full potential. So believe in yourself and believe in your execution rather than just believing in your ideas. And the last thing that I would tell people is to kind of chase their passions and not the money. So I think money is like the most elusive object that is out there. So if you go after money all day long, it's never going to come to you. But if you chase your passions, you find a way to make a difference, or you find a way to create a product that people love and it solves a problem, the money will find you. People will pay you. Like there have been times where I've launched a free product or something and people are begging to give me money for it and I'm not even asking money for it. So it's kind of like that principle is don't chase money, chase what you're good at and chase your passions.
That's some really great advice. I especially like the one that you said about execution.
Mhm.
I think that's the biggest thing that sets apart successful people, successful entrepreneurs from unsuccessful ones is just the simple really being able to execute. A lot of times, I think with a new startup, for example, with our my project with my team, what we have is launch dates. We know that we're going to launch a product or a new release on this date. Um, Whatever we have, we're just going to throw it out there on that date. Instead of waiting for, oh no, we haven't fixed this last part, let's push it back by by a week or by a couple of months or something like that. We just go ahead and launch whatever we have, and I think that's a great model to follow for you know a lot of startups nowadays. You can get bogged down with thinking about it, but like you said, I think execution is a really important thing, and just to kind of constantly be doing things, because I'm sure you would agree, it's not your knowledge um, that makes a difference in what you do with your knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
I completely agree with everything that you said so far. So, Jeet, if our audience members want to get in touch with you, let's say want to find out a little bit more about your project, what you're doing, get some advice from you on entrepreneurship, what is the best way to reach you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a personal website where I also blog at that has all my projects, my email address, my social network profiles, all that good stuff. So people can just find me there. And the link to that is jeetbanerjee.com, which is spelled JeetBanerjee.com.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks again, Jeet, so much for being on the show. I'm sure you've been a really great inspiration for anyone that's going to watch the video. Um, if anyone has any questions, they'll definitely be able to reach you at that number or at that email or at your website, actually. So thanks again so much for being on the show.
Yeah,
We're really honored to have you.
absolutely. My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.